Good morning. Well, little Mitsubishi sick, and I know in a previous video that I said that I was going to just swap this thing over to electric fuel pump, but I took age into consideration and got to looking. I think that's the original fuel pump to this truck. So 1987 to now, that's a pretty good run for a mechanical fuel pump, I'm gonna have to say. So I'm gonna give the mechanical fuel pump one more shot. I got a new one ordered and I got to put one on. Now this thing's kind of tricky. This one does not run off of that little spoon that's common on mechanical fuel pumps. This one runs off a little push rod. So I'm assuming, since I'm not a real full-time auto mechanic, that I think my best bet with this is going to be to pull the valve covers off so I can see that push rod, so I can capture it, so I can maybe bump the engine to where I can position it where I want to and be able to see it with my own eyes, know where it's at, know I ain't losing anything down in the bottom of the heads. So heads, head singular. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to pull this fuel pump. My gaskets for my valve cover and all supposed to be in today. Don't know if they are. Got the truck in here in the garage, so not too worried about having the top open. And it's raining outside. It's been, my days off from work here in the past month and a half has been wet or stupid cold, so we ain't doing either one of them if I can help it. So today's mission: pull the fuel pump off, put new fuel pump on, maybe if the gaskets come in, put everything back together and have her up and running. If this fuel pump fails because of the increased head pressure due to tuning it down to 3 psi on the fuel system, then we are definitely going to an electric fuel pump. But for right now, I'm going to give the original system another shot, just because the old one was just that old. Almost, well, not as old as me, but pretty daggone old. So here we go. Here we got her sitting up there, right where my finger's pointing, if you can see it, right here. Right there's the fuel pump, in between the runners on the intake manifold. I hope that I'm gonna have enough clearance to get that out without having to pull the carb, and I really don't want to pull the intake manifold off, but we shall see. First things on the list is I need to go underneath and get my fuel lines disconnected, marked, so I don't have to go back and double trace them to make sure they're going back in the right spot, and then we'll get at it. Another thing, whenever you do this stuff right, I mean, there ain't but one you, so let's hang on to you. Yeah, I got this thing sitting up on ramps. Those ramps ain't going anywhere, but truck is, parking brake is on in the truck. Gear stick is in first gear. But take no chances. Don't use some cheap piece of junk brick, piece of wood or whatever. Chock that tire with something proper. Those chocks are not expensive, usually less than $10, but that can be the difference between you finishing this job and getting on about your day, or you ended up in a box with some upset family. So do this stuff, think about what you're doing, think about what can happen. Alright, I got the valve cover off. Once you get everything else off of the valve cover, your throttle cable, get your wires out the way and all, then there's only 2 bolts, one here, one here. When you order your gasket set, make sure your gasket set has the little rubber cones that go around that bolt. That helps seals this. And now we're just waiting on the gaskets to come in. Doesn't look too bad considering the age of this motor, and I know that the motor's never been inside of, so that surprises me a little bit. Little tiny bit of stuff, but you can see we got oil sitting on top, so we know we're pumping good. Can't complain. I'll clean that booger up before I put it back on. Here, I don't know if you, that's the fuel pump. I'm gonna have a hard time with this because I got some big ass paws. Getting my paws in and out of here might be a challenge. If it becomes too much of a challenge, I'm gonna back up and punt, and we're gonna just slap an electric fuel pump on it and be done with it and leave this booger where it's at. But I'm still gonna make an attempt at it anyway. I already bought the pump. I bought a Carter pump. Paid the extra money for the Carter name, but guess what's printed on the Carter pump? Made in China. Shame on you, Carter. Thought you were good. Evidently you're not. Anyway, this is driven by a little push rod. Now I'm going to have trouble showing you this without getting in front of the light. Let's see what we can do here. Alright. Okay. You see the fuel pump right there. You see there's a little push rod. Golly, I need a better camera or a better way to do it. Let's try to regroup again here. I'm having trouble. Today's just not my day, it doesn't seem like. Alright. And try to position this camera. Alright. In here, that little thing right there is your push rod for your pump. It runs over here to a lobe on the cam. Right over here. What I've done is right down here on the crank, that's a 19 millimeter. I did not pull a spark plug. I was able to turn the crank just fine until I got to the furthest outward point of that little push rod's movement. And the way I did that, you might can see it on this cheap camera, you might not, but I put a little dot on there with a Sharpie. So now we're full relief on that little push rod. We're ready to pull that fuel pump off and see if I can snake it out from under everything and get the fuel lines done. If I can't, it'll be time for old fat boy to get kind of pissed off, but we'll see. There again, like I said, I'm not a professional auto mechanic by any means. I've been an industrial mechanic my whole life. Crawling in and out of stuff I do better than getting my hands in and out of stuff. I got short arms, big thick arms, and way bigger than the average hand. So auto mechanics give me trouble. We're going to move on to the next step. I'm going to go ahead and break that fuel pump loose and see if we can drop it out through the bottom. Well, I got the fuel pump out. Good to go. I got lucky, something that don't ever happen to me. I was able to pull all of it. I was able to pull all of it out to the side. Now my fat arms can get to it and work on it. But got another problem. The fuel filter that they sent me when I ordered the fuel pump is got the wrong inlet and outlet configuration. I got to run uptown and get a new fuel filter before I do this, because it would be pretty stupid to do this and not replace that fuel filter, which is probably 25-30 years old. I'm sure it is. So I'm gonna go to town, get some stuff, get on back here, get back on it. We'll try to finish this today by tonight. I don't know. I got stuff to do, might not be able to do it. So here we are for right now. Fuel pump out was a lot less painful than I thought it was going to be to get it over to the side where I can work on it. All right, be back shortly. Bye. Okay, we're making progress. I'll show you what I do to keep track of stuff. If you drop your hoses and you get them mixed up, it ain't the end of the world, but you're going to have to trace them back, figure out which one goes where. Take you a bunch of time. I keep some multicolored zip ties around just for that purpose. Alright, we got a new fuel filter right there. We know that goes on the single leg of that pump. Right there's where it came off of, that single leg. Now on the double leg of the pump, you got a fine orifice and you got a hole. Well, the hole's on the bottom. The line that ran to the fine orifice is up here on top. So I banded both of the fuel outlet lines with a green zip tie, but I specially noted that bottom line with a pink zip tie because that goes to the full flow hole. Fuel orifice on top, full flow on the bottom. That way when you put it back together you'll have it right, because like I said, 1, 2, 3 fuel lines on this pump. One inlet, 2 outlets, and both of those outlets are not the same. So just a little trick I do. bright colored zip ties, because if the hoses do slip or something slips down in there, I'll be able to see them pretty easy. Alright, now let's put this new one on and then wait for our valve cover gaskets, because they ain't been delivered yet. Alright, got the fuel pump plumbed up, got a new filter, got everything ready. I don't film constantly while I'm taking this stuff apart, because I mean a lot of that's really basic. Unless there's a specific trick that has to be done or a specific order that has to be done, then yeah, I'll film the whole thing. These daggone spring clips right here, they are the bane of my existence. It's a good thing I wasn't filming a while ago, because I absolutely about had a damn come apart on the ones on this other leg because the ears broke off of them. I was mad as fire. I hate them dang clips. Well, I dug up a couple of old school pipe hose clamps put on there. They work just fine. But God, whoever engineered these spring clips, I swear, they ought to wake up every morning with someone pouring ice water on their head. Jerks. That's why mechanics hate engineers. Alright, we're going to slip this up under there, bolt this back up, hook everything up that we can hook up before we put the valve cover back on, and it'll be ready to run, I hope. Get old girl back on the road. I love my little Mitsubishi. Nostalgia. Great little old truck. Let's get back to it. I hadn't started on that yet. I got the bus butt to town. I got a few errands I got to run. I can't get back here for a couple hours. So I'm out that fuel pump later. But I got a few minutes before I have to book out. I've got the instructions. I got them here, but I'm going to show them to you. They're very important on this 2.0 because it runs off a push rod. It doesn't run off of that spoon that's on most mechanical fuel pumps. I'm going to try to hold this up and point some things out to you. There we go. This is the wrong way to do it. See that push rod on that cam? Let's see, it's hard to do. You see the position that thing's supposed to be at. It is easy to get this thing out of position to where the tab on the fuel pump is actually riding up on top of the push rod. That's not what you want. That's why you turn the engine and pull that, make sure that push rod is pulled back as far as you can pull it to where it can't go back any further. That gives you the most room. Doing that will ruin the fuel pump and possibly warp that rod and possibly cause some other issues. This push, yeah, okay. Pretty much the same drawing. Pretty much the same drawing on both top and bottom. But make sure that your push rod and the foot of that little pump is in the correct position. Do not let it don't let it get up there and ride on top of that push rod. That's another advantage of pulling the valve covers. You can see it. You can see it a lot easier. So doing this job on this Mitsubishi Mighty Max or D50, whichever one, if you got the 2.0, it runs the fuel pump off the push rod. This is very important. And something else that's important, these old cars and trucks, they are great. Simple, easy to work on. If you can get one as, say, like a third vehicle, which is basically what this is for me, you can stand to take it down and work on it and tinker on it, make improvements, fix things that's broke, because you're not relying on it 100%. They make a great daily driver once you bring them up back to where they are. And not just that, for the kids. I mean, how many dads get out there and work on this stuff with their children anymore? Well, the few that know anything about mechanics, they're buying vehicles that you need a computer degree to work on. This is a great opportunity to teach the kids, spend time with the kids, learn things with your kids, I'm not an auto mechanic. I'm an industrial mechanic. That's a huge difference. Huge difference. But I enjoy learning new stuff, and I'm particularly fond of this truck because of nostalgia reasons. You know, I had one just like it when actually I was thinking, no, I just sold it when I met my wife. I think. Golly, the years have gone by. Anyway, I love this little truck. I love driving it. It's simple. It's paid for. Insurance is low on it. Taxes is low on it. And, I mean, that new carburetor I tuned it gets about 20 miles to the gallon minimum. And that's if I'm just driving around town. If I hadn't really run it long on long trips, so I'm pretty sure it get close to 30 miles to the gallon to get out there on the interstate. But it's a great opportunity for kids. My grandson's not here today. Obviously, right now he's in school. That's one of the things I'm fixing to go do. And he's also just still a tad bit young to really get up under here and understand what he's doing. But now he likes to do it. He'll help me change the oil and all kind of stuff. And it's a learning experience for him, and it's bonded. It helps us bond together too. So get something like this to tinker with. If you don't get it for yourself, get it basically for your kids. You can get out there and you tinker with it with your kids. And when your kid gets old enough, don't give it to them, because driving is not a right. That driving is a privilege. Don't give it to them. Make them pay a little bit on the way. Let them appreciate what they got. It might be a beater, but it's their beater. They bought it. It's what I did with my daughter. She did good with her car. She drove that car for years, but she worked and bought it. And anytime we worked on it, she worked on it. I helped her work on it, and my daughter can probably outwrench a good many of young men these days. But it's just fun. It's a fun little project. Things can get aggravating when you work on them, just like them spring clips a while ago. I wanted to, boy, I hate those spring clips. But do it for the kids, do it for yourself. Do something besides sitting there. I know you're watching this, you might be watching this on your phone. Do something besides sitting there piddling on your phone all day. I mean, come on. There's a world out there. Show your kids that there's a world out there. Get them involved with this. You get them hooked on motors and stuff like that, they'll be too broke to buy drugs. You know? So, when I get back picking my grandson up, get settled in again, we're going to get back on this, and I'm going to try to finish it up, and hopefully the gaskets will be delivered by then. Put everything back together, get her back on the road. Y'all be good. I'll let you later. Okay, I'm back. That plastic spacer, that's the factory one. When your new oil pump, listen at me. Your new fuel pump comes with a new one. Well, I inspected that one with a mirror and looked at it really close and everything, and it's no cracks. The gasket behind it still sealed good, so I'm not messing with it. So what I've done is I cleaned the front off. I'm going to put the gasket on this side of it and the fuel pump, and that's it. Call it a day. If that thing had any cracks or looked like it was coming apart or anything like that, I would definitely replace it. But I'm not replacing that one. Not today. Alright, everything buttoned up. All the gaskets in place. Winter once over, make sure all my lines are reconnected. Hoses, electrical, whatever I disconnected during the process. So, moment of truth. We're going to get it cranked up. I'm pretty sure that once it primes and gets cranked up, I'm going to have to adjust my fuel pressure, because that's a new fuel pump. And I set that regulator according to an old raggedy fuel pump. So here we go. Crank her up. Part 1. Step 1. First try. Whatever you want to call it. There ain't no way that's happening. Holy cow! This thing had just enough left in the carburetor to get it running until it primed up. And pressure. Don't see any fuel leaking. Don't smell any fuel leaking. Now it's just a matter of adjusting that fuel pressure. And we good to go. Hope y'all enjoyed this video. Like and subscribe if you're interested in what I do. Let's get to it. Get it dialed in, tuned up. We ready to roll. Later.